kinda getting,
Thing of it is, you gotta get what they call DD 214.
what is that?
A DD,
214,
that's his,
discharge notice.
yeah, it's part of his discharge.
But, yeah, whether or not it was honorable, dishonorable, or,
Right,
you know, whether he was in
penalties,
combat, yeah.
Right.
All right, hi, everybody. Okay, it's about 2-3 minutes after 7, so we'll start the Finance Committee. Tonight is Wednesday, April 3rd. And we have a quorum. We have a couple people who are excused, but tonight, thank you, John. We have the town manager
Great,
here.
thank you.
For coming to visit with us today.
Got good news and bad news, so, you can,
Ooh.
yeah, well,
Well, let's set the groundwork to begin with. So, as obviously, since it's April 3rd, the April 2nd town meeting had been pushed off, and we will be having the special town meeting. That will happen on Monday, April 22nd. There will be warrant available. I believe postcards or a mailing is going out. A mailing is going out or has gone out to inform folks about when that meeting takes place and also how to obtain the warrant. Once the warrant is, the warrant may even be finalized.
it's gonna be on the website with the recommendations and everything from the Finance Committee.
And from a timing perspective, since the meeting is the 22nd, we have to have our recommendations
10 days.
by the 12th. That's 10 business days before, but hopefully we'll have them before then.
Yeah.
If we don't have them tonight, which we might, we would have them by next Wednesday, and then we'll get them out there. So, that's sort of the groundwork on things. And we have John here to go over both the special town meeting warrant and maybe get us grounded on where things are from a budget perspective.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
You wanna do the warrant first?
Sure, that would be great, let's get that.
Okay. We, just so everyone knows, the warrant you have, I've given copies out to everybody. This is finalized as of the sources of money, where we're transferring from and to. And you will see that there were some challenges this year, and the biggest challenge was obviously Article 2, which is the $120,000 amount that we need for the trash program. When we, and I'll repeat this again, I've repeated it before, when we initially put together the estimate for the trash program, we made the assumption that we were going to get reimbursed for both recycling and trash containers. The state, and we were working along with the state on this whole process, including the RFP and everything, on all the assumptions that we made. No one ever indicated to us that we were not going to get reimbursement for both trash and recycling. What happened was that the state decided that they were going to give us $13 a barrel, and that they were only going to reimburse us for the recycling barrels. So that shorted us about $61,000. In addition to that, you know that there was a political solution to the 5 condos, and the town is picking those 5 condos up. That was never part of our original cost estimate, and that cost was about $39,000. When you add the two of those costs together, you're looking at, about $100,000. There were some additional change orders that, for Christmas tree pickup and disposal, and another $7,500, for dumpsters. So when you look at the initial estimate, barring those two unforeseen circumstances, we would have probably been right on target if we had received, well, we would have still been short by about $40,000 for the condos. So, the $120,000, it was a huge amount of money for us to come up with, but we were able to get that money. Each of these areas that we're pulling the money from have been confirmed by the department heads that this is money that they can give up. So that's where we stand. Article 1.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
a question about that, John? So going forward, now that we know that, the reimbursement was a one-time thing, so that's come and gone, whatever, and now the addition of the 5 condos, So what do we believe the trash contract and therefore the trash budget must be?
840,000, which was lower than the 1,010,000 for FY14. You'll see that in the health department budget, and that number is accurately calculated, based on the experiences that we have thus far with tonnage. The numbers are going down for tonnage, and the recycling numbers are increasing. I think most of the people in town are pretty satisfied with the program. They like it. It's very easy for them, and the more they recycle, the more they save the town. So that's an important factor for them to understand. And secondly, in our contract, the more that the town recycles, the town will get a share of the recycling proceeds from the contractor. So all of that is built into the contract, and it's important for residents to, if they don't know what to recycle, call, the town hall, speak to the Board of Health agent, or there is a recycling coordinator, and they will come out and meet with you and go over the recycling options that can go into our recycling mainstream of trash, recycling. So
Good, thank you.
that, I think, is important. So in number one, the amount that we need is $49,5469. Now, this was unforeseen. This is in regards to the veteran agent. This is money that is owed, to him for accumulated time off, which would be paid to the estate of the former employee. It's under our bylaw, under the personnel bylaw. This is his, vacation time that we're paying him, and that amount is $49,5469, and it's paid to the estate, and we all know who had recently passed away. Article 2 is the $120,000 for the trash, and we're taking $21,263 from police overtime, $1,100 from the fire station roof, $100 from the fire station roof. There were two articles. DPW drainage, there was some additional money left over in that, $1792.31. The parks mower and the parks line striper. Now, thank God we proofread this, because before it said park line stripper rather than striper. So we got that straightened out.
We'll just leave that at that.
Yeah, we might as well get that out there on the table. DPW gas tanks, there was about 4,000 left in that account. It's actually the highway gas tanks. We're taking $75,000 from healthcare. And I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about healthcare as well. We have an additional amount of savings. It may be negligible, but it's a good plan for the employees. And $15,045 from veteran aid. We don't project that the veteran aid budget will need the $15,000, and so we're looking at coming up with the $120,000 using those transfers.
All right.
Article 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did they still get the line stripe on the mower?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they have all
This
that.
is just budgeted money that didn't have to be
This is
spent
money
on
that's
those.
left over as a result.
But that's a good point.
That's correct.
They went out to bid.
Well, the line striper was like $21,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 24. It was an expensive piece of machinery. Article 3 is $3,500,
$3,500?
$3,500 to transfer from the various accounts below to the selectmen expense line item. I don't know.
Detail on that?
I don't have the $3,500 detail on that. I will get that for you. I don't know I can't remember what it was.
Trying to think of the things that go into selectmen expense line item. It's
Well,
not a salary line item.
No, it's not salary. Let me get the selectmen
Does it
expense.
have anything to do with the elections?
No.
Maybe that?
Because that would be in,
That would
No,
be,
that would be in-
town clerk. I was thinking possibly something that may have had to do with did we have to do an additional mailing because we didn't have the, remember, I think it was in the spring meeting, we didn't get the approval of sending out the postcard thing, so maybe we had to do another warrant mailing? I'm just speculating, but,
That would be the town clerk though still, wouldn't it?
town reports, I don't know, I don't think it's not town, I don't, it might be. I'm not sure. I'm sure John will find it. It could have, I don't know, I guess we'll find, true. It's been a busy little department this year.
The expense line item number is about 76,000, and it includes custodial supplies, office, telephone, the contract for the copiers, the first floor, second floor, all of that's budgeted. I don't believe it's building expenses, because it would have said building expenses. I'll find out. I'll send it out to everybody tomorrow. But we're looking to take 2,000 from the Board of Health travel, Board of Health office supplies, and training to come up with that number.
And Board of Health is comfortable?
Yeah.
They won't need that between now and June 30th?
No. Well, like I said, we met with everybody.
Okay, good.
Article 4 is $30,000 from the fire salaries for the legal budget, and that's what we expect the legal budget to be overexpended by. And then, of course, Article 5 deals with an additional $30,000 for the town building line item. Now, if we look at town buildings, we had a number of expenditures, some of which were unanticipated in the building expense portion of the budget. Let's see where we are. Oh, you know what? Part of it is the printing of the. We have spent actually to date on warrants and town report, 235409, and I think that might have had something to do, but I'll find out.
Yeah, because that wouldn't normally be in the town building, I don't think.
No, town building is general repairs, heating, air conditioning, plumbing. We did a lot of work. We hired a contractor to repair lighting. Now all of our lights now work for the first time in years. The heating and air condition number is a stable number, but we had, we put up a wall in the Board of Health office. We're building another server room wall, server room upstairs for the network administrator. And some of that has contributed, to the overage, but again, I can get a breakdown as to what drove that number beyond the 30,000 that we needed, that we appropriated. And we're taking that money from the IT phone, IT telephone, fire equipment, all of which, has been discussed with the various department heads. There's about $1,400 in life insurance that we can use, $16,000 in tax title, about $5,500 in the visiting nurses contract. We were able to reduce that contract. It was at 30. It was actually up to 39,000. We got to reduce it to 20.
I knew we
Yeah,
had.
and we got to reduce to 20, and I think now it's down to about 14.
Okay.
The Board of Health telephone, printing, and training, all of which has been approved
And-
by each of the department heads.
And the park salaries one, there's some additional funds there. I thought we were like stretched in that.
Are you talking about
I'm just-
Park and Rec?
Yeah, $1,100 is also being spent out of parks salary. We must have some leftover funds in there. They're not
Well,
going to
yes,
expend between
because-
now and June because.
Right, because there's no one occupying that position. Yeah. And and also Kenan is using some of those funds to get the program started by paying existing personnel additional hours to get the program up and running. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so based upon what needs to be done between now and June, and not having some.
There's about
person-
21,000 in that account
Okay,
left over.
yep.
Did we vote at town meeting to approve the Board of Health, the wall?
No, I don't think, that wasn't in our capital plan.
It was in the capital plan.
It was in, but we didn't
And
expect,
we
didn't.
took it out.
Yeah.
I said
I
that
shouldn't
we
say
would
that.
do it with building maintenance
Build,
funds.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it was on our capital plan, but it wasn't one of, I think we only approved 4 items on the capital plan,
Mhm.
and that wasn't one of them, but it was listed as a,
But what we said at the time was that we would try to do it within the budget. Yeah. So I'll give you explanations on 3
and
and
I was
5.
just back on that a second, so
Yeah.
if we were gonna try to do it within the budget, the overall budget, which is why if there's 30,000
Mhm.
required for building, that's part of the 30.
Well, that's part of the 30. I think that
Within the existing
the total
overall
wall
budget.
came out, the cost was about $6,000.
I think that's what.
Any
Yep, go ahead.
questions?
Just kind of moving back to Article 2,
Mhm.
just a heads up, we're about $29.69 short from the 120, so
The,
kind of a heads up.
How mu-
The total of everything listed comes to 119,970.31, which is 29.69 short of the 120,
really?
even $30 short.
An even $30 short?
Mhm.
Then something.
Well, I think we can, live with that, but if that's the case, then we need to reduce that number. I don't know if I have.
Just need to check those numbers. Thanks.
I'm gonna check it out, because I thought that this was all worked out, but, you know.
Do them again.
Oh, gosh.
Does Article 5 add up?
Yeah, all the other ones do.
Thank you.
I got 120,031. 31 cents. I don't want to do it over again.
You know
I'll
what?
put-
I have fat fingers, it's all good.
Yeah, I thought so.
Phew.
Gee, you scared me.
Yeah,
That
same here.
scared me, I'm sort of like, why isn't this coming out? All right,
Okay.
just kidding.
April Fool's.
Yep,
Okay.
delayed reaction.
So,
right, so-
this is for your consideration, and everything is square with this, and we've pretty much been able to get beyond April 22nd now that we've got these numbers solidified. You make your recommendations, we'll incorporate them along with the motions into the final document that'll be on the website and available to anyone who
And I think
wants
that's-
us to mail out to them.
So you're gonna just check on Article 3?
I'll check on Article 3 for tomorrow and Article
Maybe a little on Article 5?
30.
Okay.
I mean, Article 5.
I think we would appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's okay. And between now and then, like I said, we can still have a meeting next Wednesday, which will be a couple days before we need to post those recommendations. If we have one on the 10th too, so. And if that's all we have to do, you don't have to come, you can just give us the information.
Yeah, I'll provide that tomorrow.
Cool, perfect, all right. You guys have any questions on the special town warrant?
No.
Special town meeting warrant? Nope. Right, thank you, John.
Okay,
Let's
that
get back to that.
takes care of that. That was quite a feat to get to that.
was.
What I'd like to do is to go over this sheet here. This is the estimate, revenue estimate, budget estimates for FY14.
Okay.
We, I have to set the stage and let you know that there's a couple of drivers here that have gotten us to where we are with respect to our deficit. When we originally started the process, we were 3.3 million in debt. Or we had estimated our expenditures by 3.3 million based on revenue. What's driving this number, right now we're at 1.765924. This $1.7 million deficit is after we've gone through and reduced the expenditure portion of the town's budget by $402,853. You'll see that outlined there. Over to the far right, you'll see the additional positions that have been added to the budget. So that'll give us an additional $382,269 if we decide to go that route. And that's a policy decision that the board is going to have to make as to whether or not they want teachers, textbooks, 2 highway personnel, 4 police, an IT capital budget, or fire gear.
And if I could just make a note on that,
Mhm.
it's not cuts to people that exist right now.
That's correct.
It's cuts to proposals.
That's correct.
Okay.
We are still ahead of ourselves in relationship to the House budget numbers. These, when the governor came out with his budget, he added an additional $200,000 to $250,000 in additional revenue and local aid to the town. We didn't capture that. The only amount that we captured was the $51,000, which was the Chapter 70 money, paying $25 a pupil. We have 2,000 students in our system. So we captured that revenue, but not the rest, because we don't think it's legitimate at this point. If the House comes out with numbers that are better than the governor's numbers, or the same as the governor's numbers, then we could possibly reduce this deficit by an additional $200,000 to $250,000. In addition to that, we then have to go back and look at our revenue drivers and where we stand with revenue. Last fiscal year, or FY13, this fiscal year, we estimated that our number for motor vehicle excise would be about $1,630,000. We have made that number by $1,690,000 or $80,000. So we're very close, so another $50,000. That's a little too close for comfort, but we made the number. We're using that same number in FY 14. Now, we know that car sales are up. We know that the economy is starting to chug along at a decent pace. We expect that number is going to be higher. We won't know that until the end of this month, when our first commitment for motor vehicle will come in. We expect, traditionally what we get in motor vehicle commitments, we're looking at a higher commitment than the FY 13 number. But we also have a certain amount of people who pay late. We collect about 75% of our motor vehicle excise on time, and about 25% is late. Now, the later it is, the better it is for us, because we get penalties, interest, and so forth. And we estimate another $300,000 to $325,000 in penalties and interest, including the actual payment on the motor vehicle excise bill. So we're going to be looking at revenue a little bit closer over the next couple of weeks. we need to review that revenue, and we need to come up with a better revenue number than we have currently. So what I'm about to tell you is that neither one of these two measures is going to close the gap in its entirety. The other driver that's driving less money available for us for FY14 is snow and ice. The snow and ice number is $547,377. That's an estimate. That number is going to be a tad higher than what we currently project at this point in time, which is going to increase the deficit further.
John, can you just go over the explanation of, because I actually heard someone say it the other day, why not just use the money that you didn't use last year? Is people that don't understand how the snow and ice deficit works. Why don't you just use the money that you didn't use last year when there wasn't a lot of snow?
And the problem with that is that in public budgeting, we can't carry balances from one fiscal year to the next. We have to close it out to free cash. Last year's free cash number was $748,000. Part of that free cash number was a combination of monies that was appropriated but not expended. And that includes snow and ice or any of the other accounts.
All of the snow and ice was expended,
All
because
of
we
it,
budgeted
yes.
so low for
Yeah.
that.
It's
we didn't have-
$100,000,
You know,
yeah.
we may not have had any big storms, but we did have ice on the roads, or, you
Yeah.
know, one storm and filling the barn kills the snow budget.
Well, right, and actually, the cost of salt is so high. And you know, it costs the town about $31,000 an inch to remove snow. That's about, so if we get a 10-inch storm, we had a couple of we had a blizzard, we had one storm, we were supposed to get 4 inches of snow, we ended up with 2 feet. You know, so you add those two up at $31,000 an inch, and that's what the cost is, you know, to the town. And everyone has to have that snow off the sidewalks and off the streets because it's a public safety issue. And consequently, it's a cost that the town cannot avoid. So that's part of the issue with the 547,377. The other issue, too, is that, and what I have to say is that the level-funded budget for the school, which means that there's no increase in staff, there's no increase in expenditures, is about $1 million. And part of that is a $450,000 funding cliff. So you add the $450,000 funding cliff to the $547,000, and if those two perfect storms didn't occur in this fiscal year, it'd be a little bit easier for us to get to a balanced budget sooner rather than later. Needless to say, we're meeting tomorrow with the finance team and the school department to basically take our next steps as to what we're going to recommend to the Board of Selectmen on Monday night and to the school committee, hopefully, as to how we are going to structurally close this gap. We expect additional revenue projected. We expect that we're going to have to make additional cuts. The cuts that we're talking about deal with potentially the 2 school teachers for special ed, the textbooks, which they need, the highway personnel, which are 2, the police personnel, which are 4, the IT capital, and the fire gear. And that's still not going to close the gap in its entirety. So we are going to come up with a comprehensive recommendation to the Finance Committee and to the Board of Selectmen, the finance team, as to how we reasonably believe that we can close this budget gap. The main objective is to keep services. We don't want to cut services. We know what happened last time we did that. It took us 3 years to recover. I don't want to do that again. And, you know, from my perspective, I want to leave the town in as strong a financial position as I possibly can. So I certainly am kind of discouraged by, you know, the deficit where we are and how come it's as high as it is. But, you know, we'll get to a manageable, balanced budget, and we'll do it in a responsible way. We haven't over-projected revenues. what happened when I got here, back in 2010, was that there was an over-projection of revenue to balance the budget, and those revenues never came in. As a matter of fact, they declined. There was 9C cuts. So that, again, was a perfect storm where 9C cuts, overestimation on revenue,
Stock
resulted in,
market.
yeah, layoffs and everything else. So we're going to be looking at this very closely over the next couple of weeks. I leave on the 26th, and hopefully by that particular time, we'll have a financial plan in place to balance the budget for FY 14. That's what we're going to be working on. That's all I'm going to be working on between now and then. Okay.
Questions, you guys?
I think that's a good explanation.
That was excellent. I mean, that's the place that we're at, and some thoughts about how to get closer.
Mhm.
What's going on with the state and with the committees and the budget and?
We're expecting.
We've always heard like
Yeah.
end of May, kind of, sort of.
I think the House is going to come out at the end of April, or close to the end of April, mid to the end of April. I'm going to try to get some sort of indication as to what the local aid number will look at. Look, it's going to come out about the 22nd or so, and it usually does. And then after that, I think it's going to be, we could get a little bit more, but it's not going to be enough to close the entire budget gap. And I just want to make everyone aware of that. This is actually, the board likes this sheet because it gives you a complete snapshot of, you know, where your expenditures are, where your revenues are. And you can see that what was requested in 2004, we had, this is a new sheet. I have older sheets that go back to 2011 that had a $2.483 million deficit, and when we first started this process, it was, 3.3. So we're gradually working on that number, and we had a number on 321 of 1.541 million, but then we had money that we were projected to collect in 14 that wasn't going to occur, and that was primarily the sewer project. That came to an end, and we carried that number forward. We had to back that number out, so it was less revenue to the town, which increased the deficit by about 400,000. So we're continually working on this, and we'll work as hard as we can to get to a reasonable strategy to reduce it.
And so just to make a bold comment, if you will, we're working on this 1.7, have some ideas, but right now the plan is to not reduce any staff, not to reduce any services.
That's correct.
The plan.
That's
So
correct.
just for those who are listening.
That's correct. And I have to tell you that, not having police officers and not having the highway personnel, it hurts. It hurts the town.
Yeah, it does.
But, we have to face the financial reality. We can't manufacture money.
We can only spend what we have.
Right. So, any questions on this at all?
Thank you, John. That was an excellent update of where we stand right now and what the plans are for the next couple weeks.
Yep. And we'll have some heated discussions, I'm sure, tomorrow.
Oh, it's
but
tomorrow when you're meeting?
Yeah, we'll get that underway. If you want to go over the budget, I can go over where we are. I've put my recommendations forward at this point. These are not final recommendations. These are, we also have additional possibilities here of an additional 382,000. So these are up to date as of today. The first change, obviously, is in the town meeting. If you go to page 2 of 63, we'll reduce that number from 2,000 to 1,000 for advertising. And that's the selectmen, it's the selectmen budget. The reason why it was 2,000 initially requested and why it was so high in FY 13, we usually carry a number of about $300, was that we advertised for a number of positions that we had to fill. Including, I believe including the town manager. The next page where we have cuts is,
Page 3 of 63. It's not a cut, though, it's an increase.
where, from one,
Supplies, office supplies for the selectmen, from 1,100 to 1,500.
if you look at that number, we have chronically under estimated that budget number. It was 1181 in 12, we're at 1373 in 13. So right now it's at 15, but, that number could be adjusted. I'm gonna try to go through this as quickly as I can for you. The next one is page 10 of 63. This is the IT number, IT budget, information technology.
Okay, yeah.
We have eliminated the KVS consultant. This is, Bob Wing. There's no need to continue his services. We have an IT person, a network administrator, so we've taken that completely out.
Is that both of those numbers there? The 9,000?
Just the 6,000.
Okay.
Because the internet access
Oh,
for
I got it,
Verizon,
yep.
we need, you see it's
I
number
see it.
4.
Yep, I got you.
Yep.
Thanks.
The next page is 12 of 63. And this is something that the Cisco phone system is in need of an update. The system is working fairly well. It's far better than when I first came here. But the upgrade could wait another year. So it's not something that we desperately need in 14. So we've taken 36,359 out.
So we'll defer that to another time.
Yep. Further down that page at the bottom, we've taken another look at the town clerk's request for an M3 position. The town clerk is in an M3 rate of pay. The assistant should be at a rate of pay lower than so we looked at an M1 position for her. We've actually also reduced the veteran budget, salary budget, to an M1 as well, figuring that those two positions would be comparable. And so what we've also done is we've taken it and made it a part-time position at this point. And
The assistant town clerk one?
yes. And I think that what we would like to do, if we need to, is when the town clerk is on vacation or what have you, the assistant can work that full week, more hours that week, and then back off the hours when the town clerk is back. But we figured at a 19.5 hour position, the caseload, the casework, the volume of work that's completed in the, town clerk's office, I think the part-time would be better at this point. Certainly, if we're gonna start cutting police and fire and everybody else, that this is our first stab at it, okay? So, now, page 15 of 63.
John, you had one more change.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A decrease in information technology. Looks like it was about 40,000.
The total?
It's on page 12 of 63, just above, about halfway, underneath the.
Is that the Cisco phone?
Yeah, that's Cisco phone.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's.
That's the
okay.
Cisco phone.
I was up here, with, where it says Cisco phone,
Yeah, it's that upgrade, it's that.
and that's the,
That's it
the
right now.
reflection of it in the total number, okay. Sorry about that.
And if you look at it, it's the upgrade of the Cisco phone systems, and the current system is the end of life, cannot get support. I think we can, we've talked to the IT person, and he thinks he can limp along for another year. Planning Board, we've looked at increasing the hours. There was a request to increase the hours to 19 and a half. We're going to keep the hours the same. We increased the rate of pay, but we're reducing the hours in that position. So we're going from 24,184 to 18,675. Further down, postage, it's at 1,000. We think it's high. We've reduced it to 500. Office supplies were reduced to 500 as well. And the travel budget, we reduced to $100, because in 12, we spent $5.18, and actually 13 to date, we have spent $43.93.
Got it.
So we've reduced those two at this point. Moving right along. 22 of 63. You can go back and look at this at your leisure. If you have any questions on any of these, you can email me, or you can, we can meet again if you need to next week. I'll be here. We are taking the 72,000 out of the police budget. These are the cruisers, okay, at this point. Now, we anticipate that we're going to have a sufficient amount of free cash in the fall. We have some one-time monies that are going to fall to free cash for this fiscal year. There's 171,000 that the town ended up receiving on a settlement for a bond when it was back in 2009. I think I talked to the board about this. I went after the bond, they filed bankruptcy, the bond company, the insurance company, and I went after it and got 171. In addition to that, we got an additional 23,000, because I then hired a third party to go after the balance, and they went after the balance. We got 23,000 additional dollars. So when you add those two numbers up, it's about 200,000. So we anticipate a free cash number of around $500,000 to $600,000 this fiscal year, maybe a little bit more. So there will be a sufficient amount of money in free cash to pay for the cruisers at that point. I would recommend that we do it in the fall. I talked to the chief about that.
Yeah.
Because I sent out one of these FY14 desperate memos about cutting the budget, and he's aware of it.
72 is the equivalent, if you will, of 2 cruisers.
The 2 cruisers, that's correct. You like this budget format?
I do.
Isn't it pretty good?
Very
It's a
much
lot
so.
better than what we've had in the past. The next number
I
is
like the
on,
comment sections.
on page,
Ability to put that in there.
on page 30.
Page 30?
Page 30 of 63. It's the fire budget.
Yeah, what do you do here?
What we've taken out is the 70,000 for the purchase of an ambulance. This money was gonna go into the enterprise account for ambulance receipts. We anticipate that there is going to be retained earnings over the next couple of years in the ambulance enterprise account. And given that to be the case, we think that over the next 3 years, that there should be a sufficient amount of money to purchase an ambulance in the ambulance enterprise account, or if not purchase, lease to purchase, where we can put down, 240 of the 500,000 that we need and pay that off with ambulance receipts. So we've taken the 70,000 that the chief has set aside. I've already talked to him about this, and we've cut that from an appropriation and are looking for him to get that money through ambulance receipts.
Because as I recall, it was going to kind of put that in for a couple of years to build up
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yep.
purchase one. We weren't particularly planning to purchase it next year.
No,
We were just starting to accumulate like the savings.
that's correct. That's correct. The other, we're building inspection. There was a request for a part-time inspector. You know, at this point, it's a new position. We think it should wait. It was $14,616. We've cut that completely out of the budget for FY14. The next page is 32 of 63. We've checked with the contracts, the proposed contracts for the supervisors union. There's nothing in here for pants, shirts, and jacket for the for clothing for the building inspector. However, we do believe that the shirts that he purchases are Town of Abington inspectional services or commissioner, building commissioner. Those have the state seal on them, and we figure that that's probably what we could afford to purchase, which is $120 for 3 shirts at $40 apiece. Not the $500. You can buy a suit for that. Okay.
What about the jacket? Doesn't it have a seal on it and everything?
He doesn't have a jacket. He wears his own jacket.
Winter, does
I don't think he had. Well, he didn't ask for one.
he? Okay.
Oh, he did, yeah. He asked for $100 for a jacket. Well, you know what? He can fork up the money. He got a raise. Okay. Constable services, we reduced that number from 780 to 250. If you look at his prior year expenditures, I would look at 12, not at 11, because I think that was, they had different items spent out of that line item. He spent about $147. We don't think he needs 780 for constable services. So we reduced that budget from 141,496 to 125,970 at this point. The next number is the page 34 of 63.
44?
34,
Oh, 34, sorry.
next page. I think it's the next page.
Yep, that's it.
This is the South Shore Regional Vote Tech number. That number is now 1,952,011. We had 1,962,656, so it's a 2.8% increase, which is more reasonable. The next page is highway construction maintenance, page 38. Now, we increased this number to $20,000. We think that that number would be a good vehicle repair number. The request was originally 25. The next page, we reduced vehicle supplies by 5,000 as well, from 35 to 30. In the next page, 40 of 63, road markings and signs, we reduced from 25,000 to 20, right at the top.
Yep.
At the bottom of the page, we, other purchase services, we reduced 20,000 to 10,000.
Is that the snow and ice?
Snow removal, sorry.
The snow and ice budget is still $100,000.
Yeah, just because the notation on it says snow and ice.
Well, we originally had it at 120,
Mm-hmm,
so we're gonna go back to 100. We can't go below 100 because we'll lose our ability to deficit spend. But, so what we did is we went back to 100,000. Further down in waste collection, we've eliminated the trash compliance officer on page 41 of 63. We eliminated the compliance officer's position, 7,800, and 1,300 for travel, which is about $9,100 we reduced there. The next page, under waste collection, you can see that the budget number, I said it was 840. I'm sorry, I take it back, it's 820. The grinding, maintenance, and removal of Christmas trees, 12,500. We think that that number is a good number. Requested was 16,791. Hazardous waste disposal, we reduced by $565 from $335.65 to $3,000. Further down, under the Board of Health, we eliminated the part-time request for a part-time food inspector. Now, what we did, because we have an IT person, this is interesting. What we did was, the problem that she was having was that she was on site and she needed somebody to take these notes while she was going through. And rather than have somebody for $10,400 take notes, we are going to give her an iPad, which she has through grant money, and we're going to put the programs on that she needs, that she can just make the notations there. It'll generate the form. It'll provide, it'll send an email with the fines and whatever else, if there are any, or notations, directly to the owner when she finishes her inspection. So it's working harder. I mean, it's working smarter, not harder. And that was a
Solution to
yeah.
the problem.
And it saved us 10 grand.
Perfect. Yay.
The next page, 44 of 63?
43.
44 of 63. You don't have 43?
Yeah, but on 43.
Oh. What's on 43?
Legal, animal control, and state inspection forms.
Couple of
Just small
legal
adjustments.
summons, $50.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. The pickup of dead animals, that's something she thinks she needs, so we reduced it from 500 to 250, I apologize. And legal summonses and civil process with court. This is actually serving a summons to homeowner X who owns an apartment block that has violations. If she needs additional money, I can always take it out of legal. You'll see in the budget that we've increased legal a bit more and more accurately reflect, so we don't continuously run over by about 30,000. So those two are also reductions. Page 44, we're reducing the VNA number from 20 to 17,000. I had indicated that we were going to do that.
Yep.
And as you notice, there's a couple of more, there's about $9,100 more dollars, 9,000 additional dollars that have to be spent between now and the end of the fiscal year. And you see she's at 8763. So that number, 17, would be a better number.
That's a better number.
Yep. 40, I don't know if there's anything else. I've had them go through this for me. 46 of 63. The veterans agent, this is the, we're going to be hiring a new veterans agent, and so we believe that we can hire somebody at a lower rate of pay. This is an M1 position. And we're going from 45,675 to 38,258. The salary for the part-time person, we're eliminating that altogether. It's consistent with what we were doing with some of the part-time people. I think this was unique to the prior veteran agent,
I
where
think so too. Given the
he
years and
wasn't
experience.
savvy with the computer, so he had somebody that he paid additional money to put those forms together. Whoever we hire now, I can guarantee you is gonna have some computer savvy experience.
And I think even with the salary, which was increased, I think, you know,
Mm-hmm.
putting it down yet higher than it was before, I think that's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, I do too.
Because we were paying for his experience and.
Right, and he's now.
you know, We're
yeah,
getting
he's now
someone new.
gone.
so-
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Page 47. This is still the veteran agent. We've reduced his budget for postage to 300. The telephone
Yeah.
was $700. This was a cell phone that he had. Okay, so we're eliminating that altogether. Office supplies, we're reducing from 780 to 500. Travel budget, 1,800 to 500. And we're reducing the aid budget to 84.7, which is what we had this year. We are projecting this year alone an approximate $25,000 surplus in that budget. And we're projecting to use some of that to offset and transfer to balance the budget for 13. So we think the 84.7 is a good number. Again, if that number needs to be increased as we get to the fall town meeting, whoever the new agent is, we can bump it up. But just a postscript on this number, the state number, and the chief can testify to this, is chapter 115 usually, where the state reimburses the town 75%. In most communities of Abington's size, this number is between $150,000 to $250,000 a year, because it's easier to put somebody on 115. But what Joe has traditionally done, and what we're hoping the next guy will do, is that he'll search out different avenues for support, whether it's pension with the federal government, a VA pension with the federal government versus 115, because 115 hits us directly.
Right.
The pensions and federal funding mechanisms don't. And what he has done in the past and has always been to look to those programs for long-term funding stability for families, and not 115. So I believe that if you give them the money, they'll spend it. So if you take it away from them, they can't spend it. So that's where we are with page 47.
There's a note on this, 48.
On 48, we're looking at reducing the library budget by $15,534. I have not yet spoken to the librarian on this yet, but this number may change and fluctuate a little bit. She's about 15,000 above the library foundation number that she needs. So if we're looking at cuts everywhere, I think, we don't want her to go below foundation, the library number, and so she's up about 15,000. So I'm going to speak with Deb about that, and that number may change a little bit. The next number changes page 51. If you see any others, you can mention them to me. Temporary support, again, this is another issue where the $12,200 for a temporary supervisor for FY14. By that point in time, we expect to have a recreation superintendent. However, I'm not going to make this decision as to who that person is going to be. It's going to be made by the new town manager, but I will tell you that my experience is that we don't need a superintendent anymore. We need a recreation director.
Yes, I agree.
And the directors make a little bit less than superintendents. And if they're dealing with recreation in and of itself, I think it's something that the town should pay for in a salary amount, but that the revenue generated from these programs should pay for themselves. So the net cost to the town is the salary itself. This number the 55,123 number can be reduced, but I'm going to allow that decision to be made by the next manager.
So keep those things equal.
Yeah. Yeah. We've tried to approach this pragmatically, at least as far as the cuts are concerned, but the temporary supervisor or temporary person who was filling in for Mark, once we have a new person in that position, the temporary position will go away. We figure that'll happen sometime in FY14. The next number, page 52. Debt service, long-term principal and interest has gone slightly down a little bit. We pegged it at 1,611,014 versus the 1,634,690 number. Next, page 53, we've reduced debt service. The request is 40,000, we're down to 5384. And these are numbers that we've gotten, I think, from Leo. As we continue, I think that might not be it. Yeah, I think that's
So
it.
there was like a little shift in, what do you think? I might just be looking at the wrong.
What page?
53.
Oh. Okay.
Debt service, admin, original fees,
Origination fees, that's gone up.
has gone up from 6505 to 9075.
Yeah. Mhm.
So administration and origination fees is higher, where, and then on the other hand, the debt service, short-term interest payments have gone down.
Right,
So
but
they're
you'll also,
not connected, but,
they are. You'll also see up above that, the debt service, interest payments are up a bit,
yes.
because we're taking on, additional debt within the tax,
Within that year.
within the tax rate. And that debt is the arch, which we're starting to work on, and the purchase of the Groveland Street property, which is 171.9.
That's the debt and interest on that is the
Mhm.
increase.
And all the rest are enterprise, I think, beyond that.
Yep.
So that's about where we've reduced our budget at this point in time. Again, we have not gone into positions. That is obviously something that we are going to continue to try to avoid. But again, we'll have a better number next week. We should meet again next week if you think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I think maybe we should meet on the 10th. And let me just ask a question there, because I mean, obviously, this is the town side of things. Has the school side of things done anything similar, or do they not have?
They started, their number was about, 3 million they were looking. They've cut that number down significantly.
Those tiers of.
Right, they are, the problem with the school system right now is that for them to maintain the level service budget that they currently have, it's $1 million increase
Right off the bat, right?
right off the bat. And 450 of that is the funding cliff, the positions that were under the grant. We were hoping at the time that, the savings in trash, which we projected at 320,000, would help towards
Funding.
offsetting that. But again, what you have to remember in this budget, we're very conservative in our revenue numbers at this point. So we're gonna go back and look at that and come up with a better revenue number. And that'll all be done before next Wednesday.
All right, so then, given that, then I think the right thing for us to do is to schedule a meeting for
Yep.
next Wednesday, which would be the 10th of
Mhm.
April, at which time we can take our recommendations with regard to the special town meeting warrant articles,
Mm.
and then get another level set on.
Yeah,
where-
and we'll have an updated stat at this point. Okay?
Excellent.
So the comfort in all of this is that we're working diligently towards that. We're not there yet. There's another good piece of news today, as you know, that the governor has, and the House and Senate have supported some of his transportation numbers. And it looks like, and we don't want to say this too loudly because Kenan will jump out of his seat, that in Chapter 90 money, which we're usually getting about 300,000, we're going to get close to 600,000 $587,138 in Chapter 70 money. That obviously
Chapter
has
90?
nothing to do with the budget. I mean, Chapter 90, yeah.
What do we usually get and what do we anticipate?
We usually get around 300,000, and now we're gonna get 587,138.
That's really,
That's pretty good.
yeah, it's very good. The roads are a wreck this winter.
Oh,
Did
it's
it
terrible.
on the roads.
It's terrible. But we can't use that number for
Right,
planning
till we get-
purposes
right,
until
right.
we actually
Receive it.
have it in hand. But as you know, we have an article on that basically allows us to spend in anticipation of this and
Right.
borrow if necessary to do it.
Yes.
But it does us no good if the money comes in
There's no.
August.
Yeah, this-
You know,
yeah. It's beyond the time when we gotta be
Yeah.
working on it.
we can't work in the winter time on roads. So that's where we are.
All right, well,
Okay, any questions, anything?
anybody have any questions?
Oh,
No. Thank you, John. That was really very good and very understandable.
Good, good, I hope so. Yeah, we're getting close, and, we want to make sure we got our ducks lined up. So,
Appreciate that, that's for sure. All right. Well, thank you, John,
okay,
very much. We'll see you next week.
yeah, I'll be given the same as Sean Patrick Tyler would say, the same spiel to the
Laugh on
Board of
yourself.
Selectmen on Monday.
Oh, they're on Monday? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, on the 8th. All right, so then, other things on the agenda, meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 13th,
Second.
2013.
second.
Everyone was here, or whoever wasn't, I don't,
I think everyone was here.
okay, all those in favor?
I think I was there.
Thank
Oh,
you.
then thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Careful going home.
Well, if he's reviewed it,
The jacket.
he would-
Yeah, if he wasn't there, though, he can't vote.
It's pretty cold out.
Can we, if we have four, is that still,
I'm getting old.
okay, then we're good, so that's good. He's here, but he just can't, okay, that's good, thank you. All right, any other items on the agenda that we need to cover? I don't think so, I think we covered everything. Any liaison reports, anything like that? Nope, nope, nope.
No.
All right, well, then, we will be meeting next Wednesday. Anybody have any issues with that? Nope, nope, nope. All right. All right, so I would just again, anyone who's listening to this, mark on your calendars that even though it will probably be a relatively short special town meeting, it's still important that we get a quorum. So it's still important that people show up and show up on time and early so that we can get going.
What's that date again, Laura?
That would be Monday, April 22nd, beginning at 7 o'clock in the evening at the high school gym.
Thank you.
All right? Motion,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all those in favor? Okay, thank you very much. We got this.